The current international environment is known for, okay, what is this? This is the good old USA project. The current international environment is known for, first and foremost, severe hostility of the U.S. towards Russia. The USA has been trying to maintain the global leadership by strategically defeating Russia. This desire shapes the financial investment, weapons supply, and efforts to keep the conflict in Ukraine going. In the meantime, the key question of the U.S. domestic policy remains the same. How justified are these efforts? The further we go, the more politicians state that the U.S. should target their efforts towards addressing its domestic issues instead of wasting money in Ukraine and other problem regions. This sentiment has become the centerpiece for the U.S. 2024 presidential election campaign. While U.S. political party B are still in power, the Democrats, they are trying to maintain the current foreign policy priorities. The Republicans, still in opposition, have been criticizing these priorities. Chat, what is this doc? This is supposed to be outlining one of the central Russian propaganda plans that the Justice Department released. It makes sense for Russia to put a maximum effort to ensure that it would be the Republicans' point of view, first and foremost, the opinion of Republican supporters or Donald Trump supporters wins over the U.S. public opinion. This includes provisions on peace in Ukraine in exchange for territories, the need to focus on the problems of the U.S. economy, returning troops home from all over the world, etc. Public opinion polling results in the U.S. indicate that the politics which we consider correct has a real chance to get approval of the majority of the U.S. voters. It should be noted, though, that currently there is a real chance to steer the U.S. public opinion in the right direction by using such tools as enhancing awareness among internet users. Goals and objectives. Goal: to secure victory of a Republican Party candidate, Donald Trump or one of his current internal party opponents at the U.S. presidential elections to be held in November of 2024, to increase the percentage of Americans who believe that the U.S. has been doing way too much to support Ukraine to 51%. As of November 2nd, 2023, such index was 41%, according to Gallup. To increase the percentage of Americans who believe that the war is to be ended as soon as possible, even at the cost of territorial concessions on the part of Ukraine, to 53%. As of November 2nd, such index was 43%, according to Gallup. And to bring Kamala Harris, this could have been Joe Biden, actually, candidate B, depending on when this document was authored. To bring Joe Biden confidence rating down to the minimal level of 29%. As of November 19th, this rating was 39% based on CNN's poll of polls. I'm guessing this is probably Biden then. Residents of swing states whose voting results impact the outcomes of the elections more than other states, these are the target audiences. In 2024, such states, according to the New York Times and Santa College, are Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Residents of conservative states where traditional values are strong, who more often vote for candidates of the Republicans, is U.S. Party A, I think. Alabama, Kansas, Texas, Wyoming, Louisiana, etc. U.S. citizens of Hispanic descent, American Jews, the community of American gamers, users of Reddit and image boards such as 4chan, the backbone of the right-wing trends in the U.S. segment of the internet. Wow, PJ Forehead, thanks for the 5 gifted subs. Channels of influence. We intend to use Facebook and Instagram, as well as YouTube, Twitter, and Reddit, the resources free from, quote, democratic censorship, end quote, as the main channels to influence the target audience of the project. Project's toolkit. Go to Donald Trump's Go YouTube channel, a YouTube channel that accumulates pro-Republican video content as well as news topics of international media and presents them in compliance with the goals and objectives of the project. The toolkit will include videotape editing, subtitles, redubbing of the video clips, and in a limited number of cases, augmented reality. The channel will have extensive viral content, music, humor, beautiful girls, etc. As a result of the continuous mentioning of media personas on the channel, U.S. Person 2, U.S. Person 3, Donald Trump, etc., and the names of known organizations, as well as the focus on the viral content, in as little as 3 months, search engine indexing mechanisms will start generating links to the U.S. elections themed channel on the first pages of the search results. So this would be Republican values supporters groups. The objective is to create on Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter and actively promote for at least 5 months a network of communities uniting citizens sharing Republican values and fans of certain famous people. These could be called, for example, Alabama for America the Great, Go, U.S. Person 3 Go, What Did U.S. Person 2 Say, etc. Because the groups don't initially position themselves as political communities, they may act as lending outlets for targeted ad channels for the project narrative's distribution, without attracting immediate attention of the social media outlets administration, would be able to accumulate a critical number of viewers. News of our state sleeper groups. The objective is to create and for at least 5 months moderately promote news groups in swing states through Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter. Total of 18 communities, 1 community per media outlet in 6 states: Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. While in a sleeping state, communities attract an audience through targeted advertising, planting, and organic reaches. At the right moment, quote, upon gaining momentum, end quote, these communities become an important instrument of influencing the public opinion in critically important states and portals used by the Russian side to distribute bogus stories disguised as newsworthy events. Commentary campaign, mass distribution of text comments and memes in Facebook and Twitter discussion threads. Work with comments assumes not only the spread of false, reworked project narratives supported by facts, but also targeted social engineering based on information trends and users' emotional attitudes towards them. To achieve that, we need to analyze users' behavioral patterns. The behavioral pattern is an unusual reaction of users that allows one to identify narratives that enjoy the most significant support in Ukrainian society over a measured period of time and directly impact public opinion. Behavioral patterns form the basis of the comments-related work, enhancing its flexibility and mobility. Targeted advertising. Targeted advertising on Facebook and Instagram is tended for the target delivery messages that work with influencers. Work with influencers. I don't want to read this whole thing. How much longer is this? Work with influencers among proponents of traditional values who stand up for ending the war in Ukraine and peaceful relations between the U.S. and Russia, and who are ready to get involved in the promotion of the project narratives. Among them are actors, politicians, experts in different areas, media representatives, social organizations, activists, and clergymen, etc. Possible interaction, format, rollout of real comments by influencers, participation in shows, preparation of special materials, etc. And then Exhibit A-B. Oh, this is it in Russian. Have you considered talking to Glenn Kirshner? He's a federal prosecutor with 800,000 subs. I mean, if he wanted to, I don't know what we would talk about, but sure. Targeting Jews seems retarded. We vote like 70% Democrat and mostly live in blue states. Yeah, maybe. It would depend on the strategy. I could imagine at least some Jewish people got turned off by the Democrats based on the Israel-Gaza protest stuff. But let me use the rest of my quick. Hold on. Wait, page 152. Hold on. Monitoring of influencers. Monitoring of pages of Ukrainian influencers and social media networks is aimed at identifying messages that can be interpreted in a favorable light for the Russian Federation along the main subject areas of the project. Identified messages can be replicated in the Ukrainian information space. In addition, new narratives can be developed on their basis and content can be produced. The product consists of 2 parts: the daily monitoring tables and a weekly analytical report. Analytical table containing 6 columns, a weekly report containing statistics on influencers' reports for the week, broken down by a project's main subject areas, and coverage/response analysis. Table daily, thematic direction, discrediting Ukraine. The presenter on the show of the conservative Daily Wire channel. Somebody said this is supposed to be Candace Owens. Let's ponder, until it is all over, what did you like the best in the propaganda machine of Western Ukraine? I will forever miss the Phantom of Kiev, but also that the media informed us that Putin that the media informed us that Putin. Ugh, don't make me type in the number. What is it? Hold on. But also the press telling us that Putin had... Oh, actually, they're not copy-pasting the texts from the tweets here. This is the Russian translation from the text, so the translation might not match the text exactly. Let's reflect before it's all over. What was your favorite part of the Western Ukraine propaganda machine? I will forever miss the ghosts of Kiev. Yeah. Reach, likes, reposts, comments. It's very handy that all of this analytic information is now public instead of private. Nice. What does this mean, that she's being paid by Russians? No, just that her social media is being monitored for how to signal pro-Russian talking points well. She could be as well, but... And then apparently this is Andrew Tate. Okay, let me reverse for 1 second. Ooh. Okay. Before we do boring stuff, let's do other boring stuff. Links. What do we got? Oh, not Andrew Tate. I guess it was a Tristan Tate tweet. Billions of dollars made and hundreds of thousands of meaningless Ukrainian lives lost. The kids of the warmongers are fine, though. So this is okay. Considering how fearless Candace is and what she's doing right now with all the Nazi shit, I feel like it would make sense she is backed by some foreign entity. Who knows, maybe. It wouldn't surprise me, though. She is disgusting as a human being. It's hard to imagine somebody's that disgusting all on her own. Holy, holy Giga Chad. Holy. That's not a fake account, is it?
While they live in safety, in many cases behind walls. You know that? Nancy Pelosi has a big wall wrapped around her house. Of course, it didn't help too much with the problem she had, did it?
I mean, isn't this just an argument against the wall then? Or I don't even understand what the joke is. Or I mean, like, I understand the joke is about Paul Pelosi, but I mean, like, isn't this the opposite example you want to use? I wonder how many good guys with a gun there were at the Trump rally assassination attempt. Really makes you wonder, huh?
The videos are often consistent with the government of Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions. Oh, you mean they wanted, these people covered trending news, and then allegedly they said, hey, cover this trending news, so suddenly they're in cahoots?
Man, wow. I wonder if we would ever grant that level of charitability onto the other side, ever. My God, I wish I could get that level of charitability. This should be my stream intro for the next, month. Bro, this is crazy. What specific policy would you use to alleviate issues with, childcare in the United States?
Has delivered meaningful change. If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was... somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, because, look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country. Because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about.
I'm pretty sure he's just saying he'd pay for it with tariffs, but he's so stupid he gets distracted by his own words a little. But he might be trying to go there. But here's the thing: I'd bet my entire life on this. If you were to ask Donald Trump, hey, because I think in this incoherent ramble at some point,
any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time.
He has no idea what the difference is between the trade deficit, our budget deficit, and the national debt. He has no clue what the difference is between any of those three numbers, guaranteed. When somebody said that if we, actually, oh my God, I just figured out a huge reason why he's big in pro-tariffs. I just understood it. Somebody probably told him that if you tariff enough, the deficit will go away, our trade deficit, which is true, that would probably happen. And then he's thinking budget deficit, which is a separate thing. That's the total amount of expenditures versus income received by the federal government. Well, the budget deficit will go away, which will probably somehow get rid of the debt, because debt and deficit sound the same. The debt is just the outstanding unpaid financial instruments or whatever, treasury bonds and all that shit from the U.S. Treasury, right? He probably thinks that tariffs equals no more debt. I guarantee you, I understand it all now. That's what's happening in his mind. I've become the retard whisperer. That's exactly what he thinks. Oh my God, I figured it out. That's why he's so huge on this tariff thing.
I said his politics are insane, but he's a nice guy. His politics are insane, is what I said. He's radicalized leftist lunatic.
Nice guy, though.
He's a nice. I can separate political opinions and the person, right?
But can you if the person's so political that it's basically his entire life?
Yes, because when I have been hanging out with him in the gym, for example, he doesn't talk about politics at all.
Nice. Wait, does Hassan live in Texas now? Or are these guys in LA now? Or was he pointing at somebody else when he said when I hang out with him in the gym?
I said that his politics are insane, but he is a nice guy.
Insane?
I'm assuming he's talking about Hassan here. He might not be. I don't know why else would be linked to me.
Separate political opinions in the person.
Oh, they're in LA?
Perfect day. How are you today? Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Tim Walz is living his lifelong dream, running around America, waving wildly at random people while eating donuts to the cheers of a sycophantic media. Okay. Sorry, triggered me. Okay, what is this? 2 more links after this. What is this? This is the closest presidential campaign in 60 plus years. This race has been consistently. Why was this linked to me?
Point out how close this race has been consistently close. All right, campaigns where any candidate led by at least 5 points in the polls. Look, most of the time there's at least some stretch where one of the candidates is ahead by at least 5 points. At least 3 weeks in which one candidate led by at least 5 points. That happened in every single campaign from 1964 to 2020.
Okay, don't care about that. Evidence law, the rule of relevance and admissibility of character evidence. Let's just 1.5x this. Let's just get it in our brains so that we know.
The first hurdle in presenting any piece of evidence to a court is showing that the evidence is relevant. Relevance is a threshold requirement that must be met before the court can consider the value that the evidence may have. Evidence is relevant when it has any tendency to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without the evidence, and that fact is of consequence in making the determination. For example, in a breach of contract case, the most relevant and direct piece of evidence is usually the contract itself. The contract shows the court the obligations that each party had. One party may also present testimony that the other party failed to make a payment that was required in the contract. All of this evidence is relevant to showing that one party failed to comply with the contract terms. Proving that one party failed to comply with the contract is a fact of consequence in determining a breach of contract case. Once evidence is shown to be relevant, that evidence is admissible in court unless it's excluded by some other rule of law or evidence. Irrelevant evidence is not admissible. A court may exclude relevant evidence.
Do you think Trump will try to run a third time if he loses? I didn't think he would run this time. Didn't I say that last time? There's no way Trump would run again. He'd be so old. I feel like I might have said that. I don't know. I think I've asked this before. I don't remember. I mean, I feel like there's no way that he would try to run after losing twice. But even after losing once, I can't believe he's running again. But I mean, who knows? I would say, I'll reiterate, I think what I said last time. There's no way he would run again, but who the fuck knows? The problem is there is no one who can replace Trump right now. Nobody. Maybe Donald Trump Jr., but nope. So so who knows what happens from here with him and the MAGA-tards.
Of law or evidence. Irrelevant evidence is not admissible. A court may exclude relevant evidence when the probative value of the evidence is substantially outweighed by the danger of one or more of the following: unfair prejudice, confusing the issues, misleading the jury, undue delay, wasting time, or needlessly presenting cumulative evidence. In determining whether relevant evidence should still be excluded, the court is concerned with focusing on legal issues in the case and avoiding distractions that certain pieces of evidence could present. Unfair prejudice, one of the dangers outweighing the potential probative value of evidence, is a good example of this. It is a common reason why relevant evidence is excluded. Consider a robbery case, where the prosecutor seeks to introduce testimony that a witness saw the defendant using drugs near the store that was robbed about 10 minutes prior to the robbery. The evidence is relevant because it shows that the defendant was near the store close in time to when the robbery occurred. However, this testimony's probative value may be outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice. This testimony presents the risk of prejudice because it indicates that the defendant may have committed the crime of drug use, and thus is a person who regularly commits crimes. A court may decide to exclude the observation of the defendant using drugs to prevent the threat of unfair prejudice to the defendant. The last robbery example highlights a special type of evidence known as character evidence. Character evidence is used to describe the character trait of a person, such as a tendency to commit crimes.
Do you think that swing state voters might be creeped off of voting for Trump because of the recent Russian indictment, or won't make much difference? I don't know what an independent voter's mind even looks like right now, who's undecided between Trump and Kamala. I don't know what issues they're weighing or what matters to them. If you're a Republican, nothing about Russia. Like, Putin could literally come down and write these people checks in person and they wouldn't believe it because the Russiagate thing has rotted their minds. Both Russia and the MAGA fasci fucks have been like incredibly successful at weaponizing that whole issue. So any foreign policy stuff is immediately just like, or any foreign intervention is like Russiagate, Russiagate, Russiagate.
Character evidence could also include a witness testifying that a party in the case has a reputation in the community of being a violent person, or a witness opinion that the defendant is very honest and truthful. As a general rule, character evidence may not be used to prove that a person acted in accordance with that character trait on a particular occasion. Thus, if a plaintiff wanted to present testimony indicating that the defendant is known as a violent person, this evidence could not be used in an assault case to prove that the defendant actually acted violently on the occasion of the alleged assault. This type of evidence presents a threat of unfair prejudice, because it invites the court or jury to judge the defendant based on this reputation rather than on the facts established by the evidence during trial.
Wait, point blank question, does the MAGA movement die if Trump doesn't get elected again? Not like die completely, but yes, of course. That MAGA movement it's a cult. It would be like me selling Destiny GG LLC to another streamer and just saying like, hey guys, here's the new streamer, good luck. Like, it just doesn't work that way, right? MAGA is Trump.
He acted violently on the occasion of the alleged assault. This type of evidence presents a threat of unfair prejudice, because it invites the court or jury to judge the defendant based on this reputation rather than on the facts established by the evidence during trial. Many exceptions about character evidence. In criminal cases, the defendant may present character evidence about him or herself. For example, the defendant in an assault case may present a witness who states that the defendant is a non-violent person. The defendant may do this even though the prosecutor would not be allowed to initially present testimony that the defendant would be known to be a violent person. However, if the defendant presents evidence showing that he is a non-violent person, then he opens the door to the prosecutor presenting rebuttal or contrary evidence. The prosecutor would then be permitted to show that the defendant is known as a violent person in the community, in an attempt to disprove the defendant's evidence. Person would be known about him or herself. For example, the defendant in an assault case may present a witness who states that the defendant is a non-violent person. The defendant may do this even though the prosecutor would not be allowed to initially present testimony that the defendant would be known to be a violent person. However, if the defendant presents evidence showing that he is a non-violent person, then he opens the door to the prosecutor presenting rebuttal or contrary evidence.
Gotcha.
The prosecutor would then be permitted to show that the defendant is known as a violent person in the community, in an attempt to disprove the defendant's evidence. Similarly, if a defendant seeks to admit evidence about the character of a victim, the door is open to the prosecutor to present rebuttal evidence about the victim. Thus, if the defendant presents testimony that the victim of an assault is known as a violent person, the prosecutor is then free to introduce testimony that the victim is actually known as a peaceful person. Anytime a person testifies as a witness, character evidence relating to the propensity of that person to tell the truth becomes relevant. Any party can attack the credibility or truthfulness of a witness. If a witness's character for truthfulness is attacked during a hearing or trial, then evidence regarding the witness's character for truthfulness is also admissible. Thus, if a witness is accused of not telling the truth on the witness stand, then evidence may be entered to show that the witness does have a character trait of truthfulness. The two main ways that this can be shown is through testimony regarding that witness's reputation in the community and through opinion testimony. For example, if witness Wendy is accused of not telling the truth about the number of drinks she observed the defendant consuming at a bar, then her friend James may testify that witness Wendy is known in their community for being an honest and truthful person. The credibility of a witness may also be attacked with evidence of certain criminal convictions, particularly convictions involving a dishonest act or false statement. Frequently, parties may wish to introduce evidence regarding other crimes, wrongs, or acts committed by parties. This cannot be used as character evidence when offered to show that the person acted in accordance with the character trait on a particular occasion. A plaintiff bringing a negligence suit, for example, may wish to show that the defendant was found to have acted negligently 3 years ago in a separate legal action. The plaintiff may argue that this evidence is relevant because that prior case was a negligence case that's similar to the current case. The plaintiff is seeking to show that the respondent has a character trait of negligence, and thus acted negligently on the occasion at issue. This type of evidence is not permitted because it violates this basic rule against character evidence. However, the character evidence rules do not apply where the evidence is introduced to prove something other than that the defendant acted in accordance with the character trait. In these situations, evidence of other crimes, wrongs, or acts may be introduced to show motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake, or lack of accident. For example, if Jim has a history of robbing liquor stores while wearing Richard Nixon masks, and Jim is now accused of robbing a store while wearing a Richard Nixon mask, where an issue in controversy is the identity of the person behind the mask, the prosecution may offer evidence of Jim's history of robbing liquor stores while wearing Nixon masks. The evidence is not being used to show Jim's character, but to show the identity of the robber. Since Jim's modus operandi involves using Nixon masks to rob liquor stores, that fact makes it more likely that he was behind the mask on this particular occasion. Where allowed, character evidence may also be proven through reputation or opinion testimony. Specific instances of conduct, however, may be used to prove character only when the character trait being proved is an element of a charge, claim, or a defense at issue in the case. All of these types of character evidence are allowed if the conduct rises to the level of habit, routine, or practice. Evidence that a person has a habit, routine, or practice may be used to show that the person acted in accordance with that habit on a particular occasion. If a person goes for a run along the same route every morning at 5 a.m., for example, he's established a habit. Thus, a court may admit evidence about the defendant's habit of running at 5 a.m. to show that the defendant was likely near the scene of the crime if the crime occurred along the defendant's usual route around the time that the defendant takes his run. This information is both relevant and admissible as habit evidence. There are a few other important restrictions placed on relevant evidence. The first relates to remedial measures taken by a party that, had they been in place earlier, could have prevented the injury or harm. A party may not present evidence that the opposing party took some remedial action after an injury occurred to prove negligence, culpable conduct, a design or product defect, or that a warning or instruction was necessary.
Okay.
A common example is a building posting a slippery when wet sign after someone slips and falls on the building's floor. It seems relevant that the building or its management recognize the danger that the floor posed when...
How do you feel about people attacking Poole's appearance in response to the indictment? I think appearance attacks are dumb, but I don't know. People are obsessed with like the balding and the beanie shit, but...
wet, and thus placed the sign. However, the fact that the manager of the building posted this sign after the injury is not admissible to prove that the manager of the building acted negligently by not posting the sign earlier.
When you got email to appear on RT, who was the email from? It wasn't that. It was Paulina, I think. It was my handler.
The reason is that we don't want to discourage people from taking remedial measures that prevent injury. If those measures could be used in court to prove negligence before the steps were taken, then people would hesitate to take them. As a result, evidence of remedial measures are only admissible when offered for some other purpose, such as proving that the manager of the building exercised control over the area when the person slipped. Finally, restrictions are also placed on evidence regarding the sexual history of a victim.
Real quick, when it comes to the rules of evidence, is this up to the judge to allow or disallow evidence, or is it up to the defense or the prosecution to be aware of what's being allowed or not allowed? Like, who is the one who's supposed to initially call out if something is being offered in a trial that shouldn't be there? Is the judge supposed to be able to call all of these out, or is it up to the one of the litigants to bring it up? I swear on my family this is true. I've been to Jordan Peterson's house twice, but to prove that is to dox him / reveal me. So with all the talk about Russian assets, let's talk about Peterson's 2-year disappearance in Russia. Oh, Q whistleblower, our favorite schizo dono. An objection needs to be made, but judges can sua sponte on their own exclude evidence. Huh, okay.
These restrictions are referred to as rape shield laws. In civil and criminal cases involving allegations of sexual misconduct, the law prevents a party from presenting evidence regarding the general sexual predisposition or past sexual behavior of the victim. There are some exceptions, as the evidence may be admitted when used for a different purpose in criminal cases, or when its probative value substantially outweighs the danger of unfair prejudice to a party.
Shapiro just interviewed Tim Pool, a great meme. Wait, really?
Cases, or when its probative value substantially outweighs the danger of unfair prejudice to a party. For example, if this evidence is necessary to prove consent, as in where the cases involving a couple and the couple had a history of consensual rough sex, a court may determine that its probative value outweighs the danger of unfair prejudice. Given the delicate nature of this evidence, courts must very carefully consider the impact of the evidence and what it could have on the case. The purpose of having restrictions placed on evidence that can be introduced is to prevent the court and jury from making decisions based on factors other than what the law dictates. Character evidence poses a particularly high risk of prejudice because it focuses on the character traits of a person rather than on the series of facts and events that the parties are required to prove. However, character evidence does have its place, particularly when used to rebut opposing evidence. Ultimately, the decision to admit or exclude evidence rests with the court, often using the threat of unfair prejudice as a guide.
Wow, thanks. Somebody said this comes up on page 18 of this case. Both Natasha Stoyanov and Jessica Leeds testified in Carroll 2 that Mr. Trump had sexually assaulted them. The evidence was received under Federal Rules of Evidence 415 and 413, an exception to the usual rule restricting propensity evidence, pursuant to which evidence of similar acts of sexual assault by a party may be received against that party in civil cases based on the party's sexual assault. Ms. Carroll wishes to call them again in this trial, adding that she now seeks to elicit not only evidence that Mr. Trump attacked them, but also that he denied their allegations in the exact manner in which he denied Ms. Carroll's. Mr. Trump resists, arguing that this is not a case based on sexual assault, as the only issue now to be tried is damages, that the evidence of these witnesses is not relevant to damages, and in any case that the unfair prejudicial effect of this testimony would outweigh substantially its probative value. Mr. Trump also seeks to preclude statements that he made during the 2016 presidential campaign in which he denied and disparaged the allegations of sexual assault against him, including accusations by Ms. Stoyanov and Leeds, on a similar basis. Okay, so we would say that based on the 11-minute YouTube video that we just mastered law with, so if we were admitting this evidence, it wouldn't be to prove that we're correct in this case. It would be to prove some side or tangential issue about the case. Like, you wouldn't be bringing up this evidence to prove that he sexually assaulted you, but you'd be bringing it up to prove a thing about how he handled his conduct during that, so about him denying the allegations in the exact manner which he denied Ms. Carroll's, so that's why this would be theoretically okay? First, this court previously has rejected Mr. Trump's claim that this is not a case based on sexual assault. In an early decision in this very case, the fact that Mr. Trump is foreclosed by collateral estoppel from disputing his commission of the sexual assault does not alter the basis of this case, of which this damages trial is but one part. Thus, the case as a whole remains one based on sexual assault, and Ms. Carroll was required to prove that Mr. Trump sexually assaulted her in order to prove that he defamed her when he denied it and defamed her. Accordingly, Rules 415 and 413 have been satisfied as they were in Carroll II or Carroll 2. Second, the proposed testimony of Mr. Trump arguably remains relevant here, despite the fact that Mr. Trump is precluded from denying, directly or indirectly, that he sexually assaulted her. Let's see, tens that this testimony is admissible under. Okay, I don't care. Rules of evidence are cringe. Fuck all that shit. No one cares. Too complicated. Are we looking at the Jean Carroll stuff? Because I like to fuck your mom. Okay, one more video, then we're done with these.
Breaking news, the Biden administration taking a series of actions to target what they allege are attempts by Russian-backed actors to manipulate public opinion here in the U.S. ahead of the presidential election.
This story, Russiagate 0.20, covers a variety of complex ideas. We're going to be starting with, well, how can the mainstream media be carrying once again the idea that Russia are interfering in elections? And does that seem plausible?
This guy 100% bought 1 trillion. Is he even in the United States right now? This guy 1 quadrillion% Russian paid. Absolutely.
To you when Putin has already declared that his personal
get prepped with ivermectin and life-saving meds at the wellness company. Code BRAND saves $30 plus free shipping.
Preference would be a Kamala Harris presidency. And what's happening with the leaked DOJ investigation into independent content?
It wasn't leaked. He's copying Tim Pool's tweet there. It was an unsealed indictment.
A Kamala Harris presidency. And what's happening with the leaked DOJ investigation into independent content creators? And we're going to touch upon Stephen Crowder, Rumble creators' investigation into the DOJ. We're going to have to work out what is it that this version of Russiagate is about. Okay, guys, let's get into it. First of all, maybe we should start off with let's have a look at the mainstream media reporting on the subject, pushing the idea that it is indeed Russiagate 0.20.
Breaking news, the Biden administration taking a series of actions to target what they allege are attempts by Russian-backed actors to manipulate public opinion here in the U.S.
I really don't think I don't think we should use that language. I don't think that's appropriate. This administration, you should say like Garland's DOJ. I think is a little bit more appropriate.
Ahead of the presidential election, according to 2 senior U.S. officials. Joining us now is NBC's Ken Delanian. Ken, what more have we learned?
Jose, this is being described by our sources as a whole-of-government action designed to target Russian propaganda and disinformation aimed at interfering in the 2024 election. It is said to include sanctions by the Treasury Department, law enforcement action by the Justice Department, and one of the focuses is on RT, formerly known as Russia Today, that network of Russian government-funded English-language websites and television platforms that was flagged all the way back in 2017 by the U.S. intelligence community as a vehicle for Russian disinformation and election interference. And at that time, the Justice Department required RT to register as a foreign agent. It remains to be seen exactly what actions.
They're saying administration to frame it like a fight in a witch hunt. This is MSNBC. I don't think they're doing it to be biased. They're probably just used to saying that. It's not an incorrect statement. It's just people today don't know how any part of the government works. So when you say like Biden administration or Trump administration, the idea is that the president himself is like directing investigating. That's what it sounds like. That's what an ordinary American hears.
The U.S. will take against RT today, but this does appear to represent an escalation in the efforts to try to purge the system of Russian propaganda and disinformation. What's interesting is that, look, the U.S. has been saying all along that not only Russia, but Iran and China, but particularly Russia, has been consistently trying to manipulate American public opinion with disinformation on social media platforms, use of fake accounts, and through
If multiple executive departments are taking coordinated action, wouldn't that mean they phrase it more correctly? Maybe, but you have to be careful about like multiple departments. So for instance, like the FBI and the DOJ are not separate departments. Hold on, let me make sure I'm not wrong on this. There's a lot of things that exist under the DOJ, and I believe the FBI is under the DOJ. Hold on, let me just quadruple, but I'm 89,000%. Yes, okay. This is an agency within the Department of Justice. So like to say that like, oh, like the DOJ, has put out a statement. Also like the head of the DNI and the FBI, like have also like put out, well, wait, hold on, wait. Is the DNI also under the DOJ or is this under this might be under the, it's an advisor to the president of the United States. Okay, hold on. There's so many of these fucking offices. Office of the Director of National Intelligence, senior. Okay. The DNI might be its own separate office, I think. It's an independent agency. Wait, hold on. Well, now I'm wondering. If it says the FBI is a member of the U.S. intelligence and reports to both the Attorney General and the DNI, that means that the FBI wouldn't be... Actually, I guess that makes sense because the president appoints a head of the FBI, right? Although I guess Congress can actually create... I think Congress can create an office that the president appoints inferior officers to, maybe, right? DNI reports to the post directly, yeah. Wait, what is the FBI... Hold on, let me check. Parent agency, Department of Justice and Office of the Director of National Justice. Wait, I thought, hold on. DOJ structure. United States Department of Justice. Thank you. Really? I can't. Okay. Fuck you. Okay, we've got our AG, our deputy AG, our associate AG is here, and then they have all this shit underneath them. Is Federal Bureau of Investigation, is it listed here? Federal Bureau of Investigation. Okay. The FBI does exist as part of the Department of Justice. Okay. So the FBI reports up through to the Attorney General, right? Answers to the Attorney General. How does it answer to the DNI as well then, though? Isn't that kind of weird? DNI, structure, government. Oh my God, no, give me a pretty thing like this. Intelligence.gov, show me how the IC, no. Organization? Holy fucking AIDS. No. Oh, offices. What the fuck? What we do about... Oh wait, DNI org chart. Hold on. We got a wiki. Okay, the Director of National Intelligence, Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence. Okay, so the DNI exists as its own separate office? Okay. But the FBI is formally a part of the DOJ. They might just also report to this as well, I guess. Hold on. The Director of National Intelligence. Okay, yes. Okay. Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Okay. Well, office of. It's an office. Okay, so it's its own thing. Okay. But anyway, the FBI, when you say like the FBI and the DOJ are like working together, I mean, they're kind of like, it's a similar office. It doesn't show like some huge like like administration-wide coordination or whatever. Like they're all part of the same office. Again, to reiterate, not to say that it's technically wrong. It just gives people a weird idea when you say this person's administration is doing a thing. It makes it sound like there's like this presidential command is what I think is what the ordinary American hears.
RT through its state-sponsored platforms, as they did in 2016. The difference now is that there are mechanisms in place, particularly on social media platforms, to try to stop and flag fake accounts before the influence operations spread too widely. So it remains to be seen what impact this Russian disinformation is having. But nonetheless, this is a stance by the Biden administration to say if you're violating U.S. laws and policies, we're going to come after you. And Attorney General Merrick Garland is expected to chair a meeting of the government's election task force this afternoon, with FBI Director Chris Wray and other officials, and he may have public comments to make about this effort at that time.
Like the first time they did that, Russiagate, it seemed like an inability to address the lack of their government's actual popularity, a disinterest, or in fact uninterested electorate turning away from the kind of mainstream politics that had consistently failed to deliver the type of results that the electorate feel that they deserve.
I guess another thing that makes it make more sense if these guys are just bought and paid for stooges, it makes sense why they don't do any research, why they don't ever offer any new facts, or why they don't ever have any new information, right? It's always the exact same copy-pasted talking points every single time. Like they've gotten marching orders from like a queen bee. It's always the exact same shit. Never anything new, never anything with any substance. It's always just the same boring old fucking talking points. This is a 1 hour old video with the exact same fucking talking points as you're always going to hear. All of Russiagate was fake. The Democrats did it because they were trying to win. They were desperate. It's the deep state fighting against Donald Trump. There's not going to be a single new fact proffered in this entire video.
And in fact, you could argue that they do deserve this version of it. Don't you think that this is sort of an attempt to create absolute bewilderment? Don't you think that what we're living in now is a time of such sort of delirium that, like, do you think that Russian misinformation could genuinely impact the outcome of the 2024 election?
They must be in a group. They must be in a group. Wait, why have I heard this one over and over again? How many people have we heard say this line so many times? It's just a few people. It's not even that many people involved. I feel like we watched 2 other content creators use this exact same really weird talking point. Oh, Glenn Greenwald did it.
What we're living in now is a time of such sort of delirium that, like, do you think that Russian misinformation could genuinely impact the outcome?
Oh, Jesse Waters might have. Why? It's always these same boring talking points, like
of the 2024 election,
and it doesn't even make sense. This is one of the closest elections in the history. Like the last election was insanely close. Why would you assume that anything couldn't? Why would you assume that anything couldn't actually impact, the outcome of the election?
It's so much bloody information to consume. Let me firstly get into this. Morning Joe certainly aren't happy with the idea that we could potentially be dealing with Putin supporting Kamala Harris, that they consider it to be trolling.
It's been long since I've called any leaders of Europe or the US. We're not against any type of context. We're not limiting them. Yes, sometimes we exchange some kind of information using different channels. First of all, through the foreign ministry. It's not for us to determine. These are elections of the US people. I said that if we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he's not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris, so that is what we are going to do.
Yeah, that is some Olympic-level trolling.
Would they do that, though? Would they troll their own population on Russian media? So they would...
We need to execute a better way to do our media strategy. Okay, guys? We got to think about a better way to communicate with people sometimes. Unrelated to this. This is 1 trillion%. This is like, it's just Russian propaganda, right? It's just an unbelievable statement. Like, excuse me, sir, are you saying that Russia would lie to its own citizens?
Olympic-level trolling.
Would they do that, though? Would they troll their own population on Russian media? So he would assume that would get picked up in the US and would play well. I don't understand how many levels to this game there are. Let's have a look at other legacy media outlets dealing with the inconvenient news that Putin would prefer Kamala. And if they would prefer Kamala Harris, why would they be trying to manipulate and influence the election in favor of Trump? Well, at what point how many levels to this simulacrum is there?
President Putin said this morning that President Biden was his first choice for a second term, but that now he'd like Vice President Harris to become the next American president. Her laugh is so expressive and infectious, Putin said at an economic conference. But is the former spy telling the truth? U.S. intelligence agencies believe Putin prefers Donald Trump over Harris, seeing him as less likely to continue supporting Ukraine. And Washington believes Putin is already trying to influence the election. On Wednesday, the State Department said it would designate 5 Russian state-funded news organizations, including...
People were laughing. I haven't even watched his original statements.
Vladimir Putin weighs in on the upcoming U.S. presidential election, saying he would support Democrat Kamala Harris in November.
It was a very odd statement, appearing to be a joke he made during the Eastern Economic Forum.
At the event, Putin suggested he would take President Joe Biden's advice about urging all allies to support Harris. Some audience members laughed at the comments, including the session moderator. Putin also commented on Trump, saying he had imposed more sanctions on Russia than any other president, adding he hoped Harris will refrain from doing the same.
Where is the Tulsi Gabbard so she's preparing Trump to debate Harris? Ugh. I'm curious what this full speech is. Putin, speech, economic, forum, endorse, Harris. 2 hours, 8 minutes. Oh my God.
To bring down the age bracket for to drafting people and doing what.
We're not against a candidate there. And in November, when we know the results of this race, are you going to call the new president to congratulate the new president? Well, it's been long since I've called any leaders of Europe or the US, but we're not against any type of contact. We're not limiting them. Yes, sometimes we exchange some kind of information using different channels. First of all, through the foreign ministry. It's not for us to determine. These are elections of the U.S. people. I said that if we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he is not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So it was, well, he said that we should, that is why we should also do that. Well, her laugh, she's laughing, her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good, and if everything is good, it means that, for instance, if we're speaking about Joe Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia introduced, and if everything is good with Ms. Harris, maybe she will refrain herself from such measures, or maybe she'll change them. So in the end, and if everything is good with Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia that, for instance, if we're speaking about Joe Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia introduced, and if every.
Wait, did the translation from the other news thing say the exact opposite? I thought in the other news thing they said that the sanctions came from Trump. Which translation is better?
Russian president.
Am I making this up? Hold on.
Suggested he would take President Joe Biden's advice about urging all allies to support Harris. Some audience members laughed at that. Imposed more, including the session moderator. Putin also commented on Trump, saying he had imposed more sanctions on Russia than any other president, adding he hoped Harris will refrain from doing the same.
Oh, so she was just reading something, but that whatever she just said here is the opposite. That's not right, correct? That's kind of a weird mistake to make, but unless I'm misunderstanding something, but.
And if everything is good.
Maybe she's referring to a different part of the speech, maybe?
It means that, for instance, if we're speaking about Joe Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia introduced, and if everything is good with Ms. Harris, maybe she will refrain herself from such measures, or maybe she'll change them. So in the end, it will be the choice of the U.S. people, and we will respect this choice.
Maybe the American reporter was saying that Trump was saying he imposed the most sanctions?
Speaking about the U.S., in August, there was the exchange of prisoners between the U.S. and Russia. What countries were the mediators contributed to that?
Okay, I don't know if that's how I heard that, but okay. Wait, hold on.
appearing to be a joke he made during the Eastern Economic Forum.
At the event, Putin suggested he would take President Joe Biden's advice about urging all allies to support Harris. Some audience members laughed at the comments, including the session moderator. Putin also commented on Trump, saying he had imposed more sanctions on Russia than any other president.
Oh, I understand. Never mind. He commented on Trump saying, rather than he commented on Trump, comma, saying that he had imposed more. Oh, I understand. Holy fuck. Why? This is it's so ambiguously stated. Okay, I understand.
An economic forum.
At the event, Putin suggested he would take President Joe Biden's advice about urging all allies to support Harris. Some audience members laughed at the comments, including the session moderator. Putin also commented on Trump, saying he had imposed more sanctions on Russia than any other president, adding he hoped Harris will refrain from doing the same.
Trump saying, did Trump say that? And he hoped, oh, yeah, maybe. So he might have said that here. Okay, never mind. Jesus. Okay. What a sentence. All right, back to our good friend.
RT, formerly known as Russia Today, Ruptly, and Sputnik as foreign government missions and limit visa.
What she was saying was something like this. Nice. Commented on Trump saying that he likes hot dogs. It's like saying like this, okay? Like, John commented on Trump saying he likes hot dogs versus John commented on Trump saying he likes hot dogs. Like, these sentences mean different things. John commented on Trump saying that he likes hot dogs. In this one, John is commenting on Trump and he's saying that Trump likes hot dogs. But in this sentence, we're saying John commented on Trump, comma, or no, wait, I mixed that up. Holy fuck. The second sentence is John commented on Trump, comma, saying that he likes hot dogs. So John is commenting on Trump and he's saying that Trump likes hot dogs. But in the first one, John commented on Trump himself saying that he likes hot dogs. These are they're two different sentences. It's just autistic. Okay, Jesus.
Visas for their employees. The Justice and Treasury Departments are acting as well.
Okay, but which translation is good? I don't know at this point, but we listened to the original, so who cares?
Indicting 2 RT employees accused of funding an American right-wing media company to carry out the Kremlin's influence campaign.
The Justice Department's message is clear. We have no tolerance.
Hi, what's up?
For attempts by authoritarian regimes.
Wait, hello?
To exploit our democratic system of government.
A spokesman for RT told NBC News the group had several responses, including ha 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 and 2016 called and wants its cliches back.
Asked who could potentially mediate a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, President Putin said he is open to negotiations and that China, Brazil, or India could serve as a mediator. Hoda.
All right, Richard Engel for us there in Ukraine. Richard, thank you.
It's getting deep, guys. We can't continue to bring you this beautiful content without the support of our partners. America, listen up. First, a massive COVID-19. What will they do next? Agree? Were you prepared for the... Are we going to count? Z-Pack to the door. Budesonide. Get the contagion emergency kit from the wellness company. It's packed with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine.
They've got all they still believe in this shit. The hydroxychloroquine and the ivermectin. Oh my God. Hi, what's up? Your mic is super ultra fucked right now. I don't know if you're underwater or...
What the fuck?
Z-Pack, Tamiflu, and budesonide, and a nebulizer. The treatments they apparently didn't want you to have. A few clicks, and this kit will be at your door.
Oh. Hello, hello.
Headphones are fucking up. Can you hear me now without them?
Yep. Hey, what's up?
I just wanted to quickly say that there seems like there have been a change in orders. It's very funny because for 2 days now, on Russian media, see them started talking that they actually prefer Kamala.
Oh yeah.
Which is the huge gaslighting of like Russian population and everyone, which they always do. It's nothing new. Like you confuse the fuck out of people is the strategy. But they have been for a whole year, maybe even more, talking about how much they prefer Trump. Skabeva said so, Solovyov, like all Simonyan, all the biggest like talking heads from Kremlin. Putin himself said so. Lavrov, ministers, so all people were like, yeah, we prefer Trump, Trump this, Trump that. So they were like mocking the fuck out of like Kamala, saying she will never win, and things like that. And now, like, just 2 days, they have been saying that they actually prefer Biden and they prefer Kamala now, which is very interesting. And all the talking heads in the West now repeat that. Exactly, like a couple of days ago it happened.
Yeah,
And
it might be maybe because Russia is more negatively coded now. Maybe they want to associate it with the Democrats. Who knows? Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's like mostly
And
it's
Mr.
just
Jacob,
they want to distance.
Sorry.
Yeah,
What,
can
say
you
that
hear
again? Yep, my bad. Go ahead.
I think they actually, like, from what I've seen, that's just my opinion, obviously, but from what I've seen, they seem to want to distance themselves from the fact that they are supporting and propelling Trump.
Yeah, possibly, maybe. Yeah.
And there's a lot of like conversation about that, in particular on Russian TV, that we are not influencing America, like it's their choice, their people, they decide, we respect their choice, we don't have any preference towards candidates. If we had the preference, it's actually Biden this whole time.
Sure.
So
Although I don't
they're
know if
doing-
Russia would ever like fuck me. I don't know if Russia would ever like openly say that we're influencing an election. Don't they always deny any kind of like influence or penetration or whatever, right?
They do, but they also simultaneously say that they propel Trump sometimes, but only on Russian TV, in Russian. So never in English, never in the West towards the Western audience. But to me, it seems like an attempt to appeal to Western right-wingers that they are not actually preferring Trump. So now all of those like conservative people can now say, you see, they say they actually support Kamala. You will see this like 100 times from this day.
Yeah, of
like
course.
They will
yeah.
say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
they
From before it
actually
wasn't,
support
before it didn't matter, and now it's going to be really important. Yeah.
Yeah, they will always point to this particular bit with Putin, which, by the way, was horribly translated. I don't have time to exactly, translate what the fuck. But yeah, it's just also he also made very interesting moves there. I don't know if you noticed, but he was like making I don't know, like it's like a double thing. He like talks about her laughing, which he knows all conservatives hate and mock.
So, yeah. The talking point. Yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of like points it out as if he kind of likes it, but it's, everyone understands that it's not true. It's this double trouble shit. But anyhow, yeah, that's just some interesting. It only really happened like these days, like a day or two at best.
Sure.
So I'm like, just showing that off. And interesting turn of events, in my opinion, like the main priority is to distance themselves from this idea that they actually are supporting all the people who support Trump. So they support the commentators, media people, United States. They pay them, or they just propel their content. About all of them, literally all of them, are in support of either Trump or the destruction people. So like Stein, people like that, also pro-Kremlin people, or, or maybe RFK. So it's at least not Democrats, something that is not Democrats, but something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyhow, I think you will see this shit endlessly from now on. So I feel bad for you because people will pull this. He said that he prefers Kamala like for the end of until the election happen. You will hear that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
The orders have been given. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be the new talking point going forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye bye. Yeah.
Be careful. Fuck. Who is this to who? Robert. Who is Robert? I just got this voice message to Rudy Giuliani. Please, Robert, remain in your current post till noon on January 20th. We need you more than ever. From Mike. Mike Tuberville? No. It's Mike. He got this. This was meant for Tuberville. Is this Mike Lee? Yeah. And then who's Robert? Somebody in government. Mike Kelly? Fuck. Oh, fuck. I shouldn't have used that. Or you just said. I don't remember how this is too. Fuck. It's probably my notes somewhere up here. Okay, where were we?
Act now, protect your family, be proactive, and be prepared. Order your Contagion Emergency Kit today. Visit twc.health/brand. Use the promo code BRAND at checkout to save $30. That's twc.health/brand. And use the code BRAND to claim your discount. These kits are limited and only available in the United States of America. God bless America. The legacy media, of course, are claiming that numerous independent media content creators have accepted money from a Russian carve-out. The same way I suppose that CIA carve-outs often generate media in Ukraine. I know this because it's sort of happened to me.
Yep, the US does it everywhere else, especially Ukraine and Russia, for sure, 100%.
They're claiming that Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and others have accepted money from a Russian carve-out. Now, I know that all of them deny that. And let's have a look at the legacy media's reporting on it. And this image, you can't, now that is Dave Rubin, and that is dear Benny Johnson. But that fella in the middle, that's just a guy with a hat on. Do your research, Guardian. You can't get away with that. Tim Pool would not wear an oatmeal-coloured hat, would he? That's offensive misgendering of Tim Pool taking place there at the Guardian. Okay, let's have a look at Megyn Kelly explaining this extraordinary story.
So here's the deal. The DOJ is alleging that these two Russians who worked for RT, I mean, that does matter, but it's really the fact that they're in Russia and they're Russian and they're pushing Russian interests. What they did was they called their friend Lauren Chen. Now, she is a Canadian citizen who's living and working in America, I believe living here too, but definitely working in America for, among others, The Blaze. And she's a relatively well-known conservative personality online. I will say she's a troll. I unfollowed her a while ago because it was obvious this is not a person worth listening to on X. So they contacted Lauren Chen because, unbeknownst to me, she had worked for RT for a year as a commentator.
Hold on, fuck.
Relatively well-known conservative personality online. I will say she's a troll. Interests. What they did was they called their friend Lauren Chen. Now
Lauren Chen is a troll? Okay. How are Megan's views? Is she doing well? I don't remember. Wasn't she a Fox News person and Trump went off on her? Megyn Kelly. Am I making that up? She was Fox News, right? Or am I? Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know what she does. Now I have no idea.
Is a Canadian citizen who's living and working in America, I believe living here too, but definitely working in America for, among others, The Blaze. And she's a relatively well-known conservative personality online. I will say she's a troll. I unfollowed her a while ago because it was obvious this is not a person worth listening to on X. So they contacted Lauren Chen because, unbeknownst to me, she had worked for RT for a year as a commentator, apparently on the air, but at least writing articles for them. So openly affiliating with this channel. Now, it's not that RT, it's definitely state-run media. It is with Russia. I mean, good luck finding them doing anything critical of Vladimir Putin.
Why did she say it's definitely, yes, that's there, but they openly say that. They openly say that. It's not like obviously we all know. Yeah, it's not like obviously, it's just a stated thing. This isn't it's not even an open secret. It's RT is state funded and state directed media. I don't think they've ever said anything different. I'm pretty sure they're just open about that. No?
Yeah, it's definitely state-run media. It is with Russia. I mean, good luck finding them doing anything critical of Vladimir Putin. Trust me. They try to get more and more influence in the United States. They've had people reach out to me many times to try to get me to do something. It's a no. Okay, they know that by this point. But in this case, they did reach out to Lauren, according to this indictment, and said, help us form a new independent media company and help us find influencers who will work for it. And according to the indictment, she did. She and her husband both did that and recruited guys like Dave and Tim Pool and Benny and 3 others I never heard of. And she, according to the indictment, knew that the Russians would be funding this and editing content. But the influencers, the conservative podcasters, did not. And that's according to the indictment. That's why none of them has been indicted. The feds are saying Rubin, Pool, Benny, they didn't know. They were not told. In fact, they were given misinformation by Lauren because they allege she knew they would never do this if they understood it was being funded by the Russians. She told them that it was all being funded by some French businessman.
Wait. Fuck. I remember there was something in the indictment about that. Did she say that about this in particular? Let me check. There was a statement like that. I'm trying to remember what it was about in particular. To create content for RT pursuant to Founder One's written contract, Founder One over Founder Two, with 2 individual producers who later joined the company. RT invited Lauren Chen to appear on RT television programming, created a dedicated page on RT's website identifying Lauren Chen as a contributor, featuring her articles, and provided an official letter on RT designating and private correspondence. However, between Lauren and her husband, they recognized that truthfully disclosing their affiliation with RT made it more difficult for them to do business in the U.S. For example, in July of 2021, in a July 2021 email inviting a contact to apply for a job with RT, Lauren wrote that RT's budget is going to be larger, but acknowledged, I know being Russian, some folks in the U.S. aren't too hot on them, LOL. In another example, in a private exchange, when I was asking people if they wanted to interview, many said yes until it was RT, so I switched to them to say I was working for Lauren Chen. How did you reply? How not surprised. Okay. I don't think they ever say in here, oh, these guys would never. I don't think they say that, but I'm just triple checking. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's true. Just making sure.
Told. In fact, they were given misinformation by Lauren because they allege she knew they would never do this if they understood it was being funded by the Russians. She told them that it was all being funded by some French businessman.
That part's not true.
Edward Grigorian. And the indictment alleges that both Tim and Dave, I don't know about the others, tried to kick the tires a bit, obviously not enough, on who this is. Who's Edward Grigorian? And they wanted to see like a profile of the guy. All that was forwarded was a LinkedIn, which appears obviously to have been fake. And then Dave Rubin is, according to the indictment, the guy who pushed more and said, like, this isn't enough. And then they created this whole fake profile.
Okay, she's just a total fucking liar, traitorous, uneducated dipshit, 85 IQ fucking moron. Never mind. She's bad faith as fuck. She either read this and is lying, or she's got staff that lies for her. Dave Rubin did not push back saying this isn't enough. Dave Rubin pushed back and he wanted clarification on what social justice meant. That was the part in this indictment. She's misrepresenting what his pushback was here. Lauren Chen transmitted the Edward Grigorian profile to Dave Rubin to persuade Dave Rubin to perform work on behalf of Edward Grigorian. On or about May 12, 2023, Lauren Chen reported to Persona 1, a Russian, that Dave Rubin had a problem with the profile we sent over, specifically the reference to social justice. I think it may be because that's usually a term used by liberals, but we're trying to create a conservative network. Lauren Chen suggested that Dave Rubin and Edward could simply speak together to clarify the profile. That was his pushback there. Not that it was sketchy or weird, but he didn't like the social justice thing that was there. She's lying about that, but
tried to kick the tires a bit, obviously not enough, on who this is. Who's Edward Grigorian? And they wanted to see like a profile of the guy. All that was forwarded was a LinkedIn, which appears obviously to have been fake. And then Dave Rubin is, according to the indictment, the guy who pushed more and said, like, this isn't enough. And then they created this whole fake profile of this guy, Edward Grigorian. That's like pretty fancy. I'm holding it up for the listening audience, and you can see, frankly, it looks a little obviously stock picture at the top of some vaguely attractive man looking out a window of a private jet. And then it's got all sorts of fawning descriptions about the guy. And Dave apparently did push back even after that, saying, I'm not sure about this guy. It says he's into social justice. Why is he looking for me? Anyway, there was some pushback.
Oh, so she does bring up that second part there, but she's phrasing it in a very friendly part to him. And I don't know where that other pushback is earlier, but okay.
But here's the bottom line. They were offering eye-popping sums to these influencers, and they took the deal.
Edward Grigorian, mystery man, looking out the window of a private jet. He cares about...
Wait, hold on. Let me double, triple, quadruple check. Was their pushback provided earlier? Maybe there was. Hold on. Found one transmitted the Edward group content. What persuade commented. What problem with the profile was sent over specifically to social justice. Was there something earlier in here that they had said? This would be to commentator 1. Commentator 1. Are there any links? Okay, on or about February 1, or I'm sorry, Founder 1 emailed Persona 1 that Founder 1 has spoken to Commentator 1 a bit, who would like some material about Mr. Grigorian to learn a bit about who they would be working with. Okay, this is the part that she's probably referring to then. She's just referring to this in an incredibly charitable and favorable way. Like, this is him pushing for more information, like he doesn't trust it. And then this is him pushing for, I want to know why it says social justice, because I'm curious why he would work for me. we're stretching the boundaries of what can be true, but we could argue that these statements are true. They are just the most unfathomably charitable way of interpreting this, but it's an indictment that involves Republicans, so why not? But that's what she's referring to.
They took the deal.
Edward Gregorian, mystery man, looking out the window of a private jet. He cares about social justice and he cares about you and me. Let me tell you, they didn't offer us any money. It was you'd have just watched 25 minutes of me telling you that Edward Gregorian's a great fella and we should just follow along with it. Don't you just assume that all media is to some degree propaganda and that isn't, in fact, the charm of independent media is that the biases are sort of somewhat evident and explicitly declared. I mean, on this show, I don't know what we would be capable of propagating. The whole thing's run on pure instinct, intuition, goodwill, faithfulness. So when you look at that, the story then, Russiagate is being rebooted. Now, I keep putting the decimal point in the wrong place, don't I? It's Russiagate 0.20. That's what it is, not 2.0. You're quite right about that. But we can't simply continue to believe that the only reason people would vote for Donald Trump or vote against Kamala Harris and the remnants of the establishment that she represents because of Putin's ingenuity and deception is plain that people are utterly disillusioned and on the precipice of despair with the institutions of democracy, the institutions of justice, the institutions of communication, primarily because they've all become so dreadfully corrupted. You can't have it that on one hand Putin is publicly endorsing Kamala Harris, then deceptively ensuring that people vote for Trump. I don't know how he thinks that he would benefit from a Kamala Harris.
What is wait, what did he even say? You can't be publicly supporting one thing and then as part of a covert operation supporting the opposite. What is he even saying? Like, it's so on its face, it's so stupid.
So dreadfully corrupted. You can't have it that on one hand Putin is publicly endorsing Kamala Harris, then deceptively ensuring that people vote for Trump. I don't know how he thinks that he would benefit from a Kamala Harris presidency or a Trump presidency. It's pretty clear that the Democratic Party are more interested in continuing to fund Ukraine, for example. That would seem pretty likely. I can't pretend to begin to understand it, not for a second, except for saying that the world of media, espionage, surveillance and censorship seems to be governed increasingly by authoritarian forces that benefit from all of us being goggle-eyed and bedazzled and distracted from the things that are truly important. And you know what they are, don't you? Personally, I know most of those influencers, and I would say that none of them are going to actively promote Russian interests for money. It's not how it works. Like Dave Rubin, double patriotic. Benny Johnson is patriotic to an outrageous degree. Tim Pool seems like a deeply critical thinker, trying his best. If America votes for Donald Trump in November 2024, it's not going to be because of the will of Vladimir Putin. It's going to be because of the ineptitude and corruption of the government for the last 4 years and the general state of disillusionment, the fugue of despair induced by centrist politics that condemns ordinary Americans rather than representing them continually. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat?
Wow, good one.